In my last video about this deck, I got a couple of things wrong, but most importantly, I didn't wait long enough for the competitive Duel Links community to evolve the deck to its utmost potential, so the final version of the deck I showed you was incomplete and suboptimal. Normally, at Team 6K, we want to make our videos high quality and well researched, but I was just so excited and that I didn't prioritize those things so much, so I'm definitely not going to make that mistake again. But now that we're here, the final boss version of Undead Reborn is absolutely goddamn amazing, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to play it like a final boss. In this video, I'm not going to tell you what all of these cards do, as I already went over them in the original advanced guide, and that advanced guide is still going to give you a lot of important information about this deck, so it would be best to go watch that before watching this one. Our previous goal was to set up Red Eyes Zombie Dragonlord on the field to revive Felgrand, while also having Yuki Onna engraved as another way to revive Felgrand. That way you could play around DD Crow or Book of Moon, turning off the Red Eyes or the Yuki Onna. This was definitely a solid game plan, and having a bunch of top decks into hand traps was pretty damn nice too for more interruptions. However, strictly speaking, hoping to draw into hand traps, even though it is likely, was a bit unreliable since you could never guarantee it. But this new game plan guarantees a bunch of interruptions. We are still gonna get Yuki Onna and Felgrand into the grave, but we're gonna have Red Eye Zombie Dragonlord in the banish pile, Shiranui Sun Saga in the grave, Immortal Dragon into the grave, and Shiranui Skill Saga Supremacy on the field. This we will have a lot more options on our opponent's turn and a lot more summons. The Skill Saga on the field is going to make it so that all of your synchros can't be destroyed by card effects, so you're going to be protected by Dark Hole, for example. And with its revival effect on the opponent's turn, you can revive a banished synchro, so you can get back your banished Zombie Dragonlord. From that point, you'll be able to do exactly what you could have done previously. Either the Zombie Dragonlord or the Yuki Onna engrave is going to be able to revive Felgrand, so you can get a banish. But more than that, also having the Sun Saga engrave, you'll be able to summon that with either Yuki Onna or Zombie Dragonlord 2, and it'll be able to non-target destroy cards on the opponent's turn equal to the amount of zombie synchros you return from grave. At the bare minimum, you'll have an Immortal Dragon in the grave for 1 pop, but if you choose not to resummon Felgrand, then that could be 2 pops. If you do summon Felgrand though, then summon Sun Saga afterward. You'll also get the Felgrand negate as well as the Sun Saga pop. In total, this is going to give you 1 banish with Felgrand, 1 negate with Felgrand, and 1 destruction with Sun Saga, and all of this with your synchros being indestructible by card effects because of Skill Saga. This is the situation we are going to be trying to set up with the deck now, and the deck has changed a bit to facilitate this too. Samurai Skull, Unizombie, Changshi, and Mizuki are all of course the core cards of the deck, the heart of your cards in sickness and in health. Anyway, the rest of the cards in your deck are going to be what's basically either supporting these cards or what these cards are setting up for you. Previously, you could use your starters to set up a really nice Changshi banish with Shinobi Necro engrave. That was definitely a really nice and easy play. However, it's not something we necessarily need to do anymore, because now when we banish Changshi, you're actually happy to banish the Red Eye Zombie Dragonlord from grave so that it can be revived on the opponent's turn with Skill Saga. Instead, we are going to prefer to set up Gozuki by sending that from deck to grave with a starter alongside a Mizuki, so that Mizuki can revive Gozuki and Gozuki can send something else with his Foolish Burial effect for more extension. It's important to note that the only way we can summon Gozuki in this deck is from the grave. We can't summon him from the hand, so we are going to want to discard him with a skill if he is in hand, or dump him from deck to grave if we want to get him out. Often what's going to happen is you'll use one of your starters to get a starter engrave or a Mizuki to revive a starter that's already there. Then you'll use Mizuki or Zombie Reborn to revive that starter, so that starter can send another starter to the grave, or a Mizuki to revive one that's already there. Then you can use Mizuki or Zombie Reborn to revive that starter, and then that starter can send something else, and through this we've gotten a lot of bodies on board for extension while still being able to get what we want into the grave. Gozuki being a level 4 is really nice too, because you could use it alongside Unizombie after it increased its own level by 1 to synchro summon Felgrand. One way or another, we are going to need to synchro summon Felgrand, and this is going to be one of the ways you go about it. And what's more is that Gozuki also has an effect when sent to the grave. You can banish another zombie from grave to special summon another zombie from hand, which can be really great for extending your combos further for your link summons. Another way to get your synchro plays going is with our tuner Mad Molar. The truth is, we don't really need Shinobi Necro anymore. You can pull play it, but sending something else in its place these days is often going to be more beneficial anyway, since Shinobi Necro realistically is only ever going to be useful once, whereas the rest of the cards in this deck are repeatable, and that's a really nice thing. Mad Mauler alongside Chang-Chi can also make Felgrand, but it might be better to use it alongside a level 4 to go into Immortal Dragon. Immortal Dragon is a Synchro Tuner level 6 that has an ignition effect to send a zombie from deck to grave and reduce its own level by the level of the monster you sent. Most of the time this is going to be sending Mizuki from deck to grave for more extension. Since it will be minusing Mizuki's level from its own, it will become a level 2 tuner, meaning that it alongside Felgrand could go right into a level 10 Synchro. If we get there, then we can turn them both into Sun Saga. That way we will have all 4 of our Synchros into rotation, and the only thing left will be to get Yuki Onna in grave and Skill Saga on the field. Before we talk about that though, Mad Mauler being the main tuner of our deck is definitely something that might seem a little worrisome to you, since its inherent special summon ability is once per turn, and since it will reduce one of your monster's levels by 2, potentially making it more difficult to go into the level you want it to go into. If you want to use it alongside a level 4 monster to go into Immortal Dragon, then you could target another level 6 or higher monster like Chang-Chi and reduce her to level 4 so that they can go into a level 6 Synchro together. If you want to use it alongside a level 6 to go into a level 8, then you could target a different level 6 or higher monster to reduce that one, so that the other level 6 monster remains level 6 so they can go into a level 8. And the same thing for level 10, if you want to summon a level 10 but don't want to reduce your level 8 Synchro's level, then you can reduce a different level 6 or higher monster's level. Most of the time though, you can just ignore all of these things by reviving Mauler with Mizuki. So with all of our special summons and all of our different ways to accomplish the same thing, there isn't really a specific combo that you have to follow, but there are certain checkpoints that you're going to want to keep in mind. Basically what I'm saying is, using whatever methods you have available to you, you're going to reach certain situations in a certain order to get to the end board you want to get to. Step 1, generally speaking, is to set up. This is going to mean using your starters, Mizuki and Zombie Reborn, to get as much advantage as you can to get you where you need to be for the rest of the steps. Keep all of the rest of the steps in mind when you decide what you're going to be setting up in this step. This step is often going to look like getting a bunch of starters on the field and making sure to put Mizuki's and a Mad Mauler into the graveyard. Step 2 and Step 3 are interchangeable depending on which is more convenient for you to do first. Step 2 is to Synchro Summon Felgrand by whatever means you have. Most of the time this is going to be either using Chang-Chi with a Mad Mauler that was revived with Mizuki, or even more likely using a level 4 Unizombie alongside Gazuki or Samurai Skull. Step 3 is going to be Synchro Summoning Immortal Dragon. This is either going to be with Mad Mauler reviving itself and making Chang-Chi level 4, or it's going to be Mizuki reviving Mad Mauler and using it alongside Gazuki and Samurai Skull. You're going to use Immortal Dragon to send another Mizuki from deck to grave the vast majority of the time, but do keep in mind that if you do need to summon the Immortal Dragon during your setup, then using it to send more starters to your revive with Mizuki or Zombie Reborn is something you can do too. Steps 2 and 3 are often going to involve you having monsters that are clogging up your field in order for you to get these particular levels out, and to help you deal with those, you can easily link useless bodies off into Vampire Sucker, and if you do that, then you'll also have Vampire Sucker drawing you a bonus card when you do revive a zombie. Step 4 is going to be you having Felgrand and Immortal Dragon on the field, with Immortal Dragon being a level 2. You could tune them together now into Sun Saga, putting the Felgrand and Immortal Dragon into the grave for use on the opponent's turn. Step 5 is going to be summoning Yuki Onna, the Icicle Mayakashi, and if you already have a Vampire Sucker on the field, then this could be pretty easy, since you can just link the Vampire Sucker and the Sun Saga off into the Yuki Onna. If you haven't summoned Vampire Sucker yet though, make sure to do that before linking everything off, because Step 6 is going to be using Mizuki in grave to revive Vampire Sucker, so that you can use Vampire Sucker as 2 link materials and Yuki Onna as 1 link material to go into Shiranui Skill Saga Supremacy. You might look at these 2 links and see that their link ratings add up to 5, not 3. However, any link monster can instead be used as a single material for a link rather than using its link rating. This is going to set up everything we want, and what's even better is that it can also set up an OTK if you happen to have an opening the turn you do the combo, but the opponent might have more defense than that, and if they do, then it'd be better to just wait until you can whittle down their resources with your interruptions. That OTK would definitely have been made easier with the Felgrand banishing part of their board and negating part of their board, and the Yuki Onna also negating part of their board. It's important to note as well that since this is a 2-player game, the opponent is going to try to interrupt you. If they interrupt a play, that play is interrupted. You can't uninterrupt it. This deck doesn't really try to prevent an interruption from happening. Instead, this deck goes the route of just making more plays after getting interrupted. This is the type of deck where your mindset needs to be, if they stop this, then I'll do this afterward. I do talk a bit about some ways you can play around or through some interruptions in the advanced guide, and that's definitely going to be helpful, but just know that this deck has so many plays and just so much special summoning, you're going to be fine through interruptions the majority of the time anyway, just because of the other special summons you're going to have available to you. The biggest mistake I made in my previous guide on the deck though is that I had disregarded Burial from a different dimension. I had misread it thinking that it had to return exactly 3 monsters from the banish pile. That's how you know I'm a true Yu-Gi-Oh player, not reading a card properly. Since you can use it no matter how many banished monsters you have, there's often just going to be a way to get bonus activations of your Mizuki to extend your combos further, making this card super good against all interruptions because more special summons is always a great way to help you get through more interruptions. You don't always have to set up absolutely everything. In fact, a lot of the time the opponent interrupting you well is going to prevent you from setting everything up, but just set up as much interruptions and protection as you can, whether it just be the Felgrand as your only interruption, Sun Saga as your only interruption, or just trying your best to survive. Speaking of survival, there is another card this deck can play that makes survival much easier, and that's Al Ghul Mazera. If this card's in your hand or grave, he can banish himself to protect your zombie type monster or monsters from battle or effect destruction, and then if he is banished from hand or grave, including by his own effect, then he can special summon himself and reduce his level by 1. Just keeping your zombies alive by his effect is going to trigger him to special summon himself, giving you yet another body to protect yourself with, and when it dies it goes right back to the grave so that it can protect you again on following turns. Making himself a level 7 in this deck means he's not really going to be used for any synchro summons, but he can be used as link material. For example, when you return Yuki Onna to the extra deck with Zombie Reborn to summon it again, this can be another material on the field to get it out again. It being a level 8 though, it is important to note that you could revive it with Mizuki as a level 8 to go into Sun Saga alongside Mad Mauler, and if you reduce it to a level 6 with Mad Mauler, that could also be a way to go into Felgrand, especially in the grind game after you've returned Felgrand to the extra deck with Sun Saga. This is going to be something you can send to the grave either if you need protection more than you need interruption, or if you have everything you need for interruption already, so you might as well get more protection. I would say this card is optional to play though if you want the absolute most consistency in your deck. In fact, in the 6K community's first ever Saturday night throwdown tournament, JVZ got to top 4 with his deck list that doesn't play Mazera at all. In fact, he named his deck after the fact that he doesn't play it, and he never needed it. He said that it makes his deck more consistent since he doesn't play it, and he got the idea from some of the top players in the most recent KC Cup. That of course doesn't mean that you shouldn't play it. As I've just explained, this card is really damn helpful for keeping you alive and following up, but you should also know that the choice is up to you. Something that's really important to understand about this deck's interruptions is the rulings behind them. Sun Saga and Felgrand both trigger when they are special summoned, and this actually creates an opening that the opponent can exploit. If the opponent activates a non-targeting removal effect, then they might get rid of your zombie Dragon Lord from the field, preventing it from being able to revive something. You might then chain to that effect, bringing back a zombie with its effect. Once that resolves, then the opponent's removal effect will resolve, and that effect may remove your newly revived monster from the field. If your newly summoned monster leaves the field before the chain it was summoned in finishes resolving, then it won't be able to start a new chain and trigger its on-summon effect. You could still get the revive off just so that you have more bodies on board after your opponent uses their removal, but this is an important thing to keep in mind anyway. The other thing is that there are some situations where you want to be able to interrupt something as soon as it is summoned, but chaining Zombie Dragon Lord or Yuki Onna to their summon will mean you've missed your opportunity. If you want to avoid this, you might prefer to preemptively use your revival effect before their monster is summoned, so that when their summon happens, it is at the same time as your Sun Saga or Felgrand being able to activate their effect. Most of the time, this isn't going to be an issue though. If you want to remove something, most of the time you can just remove it. This is the deck list that JVZ got top 4 with in this last weekend's Saturday night throwdown. He's keeping it pretty simple by having 3 of each of the main cards of the deck: 3 Unizombie, 3 Changshi, 3 Samurai Skull, 3 Mizuki, and 3 Burial. These are definitely the heart and soul of the deck, and he's got 1 Guzuki to send and revive, and the 1 Mad Mauler for synchro plays. You could play Mazera as well if you wanted, but it is an optional card. He's also deciding to play Forbidden Droplet here. However, the 3 tech slots here can be whatever tech card you feel is going to be most beneficial for you depending on the format. The extra deck these days is pretty standardized: 1 Red Eyes, 1 Felgrand, 1 Immortal Dragon, 1 Sun Saga, 1 Skill Saga, 1 Yuki Onna, and 1 Sucker, and 1 free slot for whatever you want to do with it. JVZ plays Nightmare Unicorn as a way to break through boards and to clear his own field for more summons. I've seen some people playing rank 8 so you can use Felgrand and Mazera together for an another interruption, and I've seen people using Guts as an interruption, though since Mad Mauler locks us into zombies, that one seems a little bit optimistic to me personally. As it stands, even though this is what a standard Undead Reborn looks like now, this deck is very much one you can fiddle around with and find new combos for, and there seems to be nearly endless possibilities, so it's possible that yet another variant of this deck becomes the more popular one depending on the format. So guys, I hope you can forgive me for being super rushed with the original guide, but most of the information in that guide is still important, and this video patches everything up on top of talking about the new evolutions the deck has made. So if this video didn't really make much sense to you, then definitely go and watch that video, and with both of these videos you'll be much better at playing Undead Reborn. But I want to know guys, how are you feeling about this deck? Do you love it? Are you sick of it already? Tell us all about it in the comments, and if you have any questions about this deck or in general, be sure to leave them down there too. And if you like the video, then slap like now, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell to get notified every time we make a new video. Have yourselves a good one guys, and I've been Undead from Team 6K, signing out.
Hey, why they gotta hate on me? I done got me 250,000 views and they still saying they low key. They ain't wanna come work with the kid, but I'm flexing with Zay on beats. How they ask for a spot at the gym, but they leave all the weight on me. I don't ask them to wait on me. They would ask where they gon' be with a song if they wanted the weatherman. I ain't asking to pay no fees. She was homeless and needed a spot. I ain't ask her to pay no lease. I ain't ask her to say no please. I ain't ask her to make no cheese. Scream fake but it ain't on me. Got clean so it ain't no streets. Why green if it ain't no keeps? Brought cream so it ain't no beef. My team say it ain't no chief. My demon they hang on me. They seemingly ain't no peace. I seen him, he ain't no beast.